A very warm welcome to everybody. I think there is one thing that all of us have in common, and that is our desire to invest in profitable and more sensible investment options. A few years back, I was wondering how would my returns look like if I had timely invested as an angel investor. At that time, I did not have suitable guidance or circle of resources that could have helped me with the same. I was always worried, is this the right investment option for me? How am I going to select the right channel for investment? How is this mode of angel investment different from other investment options? Do I really need to be a startup guy and understand the startup world to invest as an angel investor? However, the wait is over today. We have with us two amazing entrepreneurs who have been very successful angel investors in addition to running their startup ventures. Under the aegis of IIM Indore Delhi NCR chapter, fourth edition of the Caravan series, please allow me to welcome fellow alumni Mr. Dhruv Bhushan, CEO of Habitat Health, and Mr. Pankaj Agarwal, CEO of HelloTravel.com. Dhruv, a PGP from 2008 batch, has most recently co-founded Habit.Health, a startup that is in pursuit of building the biggest lifestyle brand in health and nutrition. His last startup, Excelsior StudyBud, was acquired in 2019. He is an active angel investor in top startups like BharatPe, RupeeFee, Kubera, among others. Pankaj, a PGP from 2000 batch, is an entrepreneur, angel investor, and a startup mentor. After his last venture, IGP, got acquired, he co-founded Hello Travel, India's largest travel tech company, helping travelers planning amazing holidays. Some of his notable investments are in Fido, Fitso, Headout, Nikki. He has been featured among top 15 young entrepreneurs by the business world. We will go through a 30-minute round of discussion and then take up questions. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat window and we'll pick them up as soon as the discussions are done. So Pankaj, over to you. What are the things that you keep in mind and the mistakes you try to avoid or you would advise to avoid when starting out as an angel investor?
Hi, Prakash. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with all of you. It's good to be a part of this session, sharing my experiences. I began with angel investments in 2014 after having sold my previous startup. I have been actively investing and I'm set to cross about 100 investments by end of next year or so. So there are broadly 5 things that you would keep in mind if you want to start out as an angel investor. The first and the foremost is, do you have the patience to be an investor in the angel space? As most of you would know, the chances of success is very low in angel investments. Usually about 1 to 10 companies become successful. So you would need a portfolio of about 20, 30 companies to balance out the risk and hope for a higher return. So to build this, you will need 4 to 5 years of active sourcing of deals and investments to create a sufficient corpus, which brings me to the other point, which is the diversification aspect. Now, the basic mistake that anybody makes in angel investment is that they would make a couple of investments, see that they're not going through, they failed, and then they stop it. They think that it's not a good thing to invest in. But diversification is very important here. You know, if you're investing, say, about 20 companies in your portfolio, which is leading you to have a couple of exits eventually, and let's say the average ticket size per investment is, for example, 5 lakh rupees. So to build a portfolio of 20 companies, you will need 1 crore just for angel investments. Now, if you look at diversification, your angel investment portfolio should ideally not begin with more than 10% or maybe 15% of your overall wealth, which basically means that you will have to have somewhere between 5 crores to 10 crores as the total investable corpus if you want to really start out in the angel investment space and make some money. Because the first few companies that you invest in may or may not be successful. You will need to give it time. You will need to give it at least 4 or 5 years before you start seeing results. So you need to build your patience and be able to diversify from the investable wealth that you have. The third most important aspect is access. By access, I mean that, for example, on stock exchange, you will have access to all companies. Everybody will have the same information. There is a fixed price. you know the volumes, you can go and buy at the same price. But in angel investment, where these companies are private, you will need to know which company is raising funds, how do you get access to those founders, can you get a deal of a company which is doing extremely well and you would want to invest. Unless the founder knows you or you can get access to that founder, you will not be able to invest. So you will need to get that access to these solid startups. Now, how do you build those access? Now you can start sourcing deals directly through your immediate network, or if you know somebody as a founder, or maybe through the college network. You can build access by creating some sort of diversification or some sort of value add to your name. Let's say by check size, you want to invest higher amounts. You want to build the value of the industry experience that you've acquired over the years. It could be your network, which has access to solid companies. It could be your personal brand. So if people know you, they would want to come and get your funds so that they can eventually raise follow-on funds using your name as well. You will need to bring value to the companies that you invest in. If you're able to give value to that founder, if you think you can help him scale up in terms of sales, or if you can solve some of his critical problems, or if you can open your network to him or give him some sort of value add which he needs as a company, then you should be angel investing. You should also be able to say no and have no regrets, because some of the companies that you would invest in, they'll do fine, they will go, and some of them will bust. But more importantly, some of the companies that you don't invest in will eventually go on and become large companies. Now, there is no point looking back and saying, "Usko kiya hota to bahut acha hota." No, it's just part of this whole activity and exercise. So don't have regrets. Look at a company, analyze if it's worth the investment at that particular point in time. Go ahead and invest. So I would say, you need to have a balance of patience, diversification. You should be able to get the deals. You should have a particular value add that you bring to the table to the founders, and you should be able to say no and have no regrets.
So Pankaj, let me just hold you there, and over to Dhruv. So Pankaj has laid out that 5 investments, 20 investments, 5 lakhs, corpus of 1 crore. So maybe if somebody wants to start at a young age, so Dhruv, what is your advice at what age people should start? And if somebody doesn't have a 1 CR corpus, what are ways of getting into angel investment?
Okay. First of all, thank you, Abhishek, Vikas, team, and everyone for having me here, sharing a little bit from my limited experience in this industry. While I respect Pankaj a lot, my views as far as angel investing are very, very contrarian. I do not do a diversified spray paint approach and then see, okay, some of them will work, some of them will not work. मैंने बचपन में I made some mistakes. I watched the wrong movies and read the wrong books. So I'm much more inspired by the Gordon Geckos of the world who bet on sure things. Now it's of course very difficult to find out what a sure thing is, and there are no right answers, but there are always right motivations, right? First, you need to understand why exactly do you even want to be doing this. If you want to be making angel investments for financial returns, then there's a different strategy to apply. If you're making angel investments to actually be an angel, wherein you are supporting upcoming entrepreneurs, then there's a different strategy to apply. If you're making angel investments to learn, and that's why I make angel investments, because I want to support the best and the smartest people out there and learn from them, then there's a different strategy to apply. Now, I've been doing my own things since I was 6 years old. I have been an entrepreneur all my life, but I started actively investing in others immediately after IIM. That was in 2008. What made me start was in 2008 when we did our first online venture, which was despite unparalleled, even till now, phenomenal traction, no one would invest in us. Why? Because we're from a supposedly at that point of time tier 2 IIM, non-IIT background, not doing anything path breaking in e-commerce. That is when I realized, okay, There are lots of amazing entrepreneurs out there who have right ideas, who have the right motivations. They need to be supported. So I use my limited amount of personal wealth to support and back the right folks going after large problems. What we should definitely look after and take care of, one, there is no age. You can start off even if you're 18, you can start off even if you're 80. You just have to figure out what the right motivation is. Of course, this being an investment, there have to be returns. So what you need to go after is understand when is it that you as an investor will make returns. You as an angel investor will only make returns when someone buys your stake. That will happen when either the company is bought out, or the company does an IPO, or the company raises multiple rounds of follow-on fundings from multiple bigger investors or bigger VCs. Either of these three, any of these three scenarios will only happen when the company is growing fast. That scenario will only happen when the team that you're backing is super solid. They are going after a large market with a differentiated approach to solving some problem. So those are the three things that I look for. One, is the team super solid? Early stage, that is the only thing that I look for. Is it a rounded team? Do they have the right motivations? Maybe they have the right experience in that particular industry. Secondly, okay, are they operating in a large market? So now if someone comes to me and says today that I want to start a newspaper, an offline newspaper today is a dying industry. That is not where the world is moving towards. Even though this person might be the smartest chap on the planet, I will most likely not invest in them. So there has to be a large exponentially growing market or an opportunity wherein these smart people can scale up fast. And thirdly, of course, what is the unique thing that you're doing? Maybe there's IP, maybe there's disruption, maybe there's a unique approach, maybe there's some competitive mode that you've made. But since it's an early stage, there's not a lot of proof in the traction of the business. You just have to bet on the entrepreneurs. And when you are taking a bet, you have to be very well aware, as Pankaj said, have no regrets. There is almost full possibility that you might end up losing all your money. Even if you do that, you should not have regrets. If you have any doubts that you may not lose money, please do not be an angel investor. It is a very high risk, very high return option. The way to minimize risk is go via the Pankaj approach, or what everyone else does is diversify, but only invest money which you can afford to lose. Think of it as a poker game. Make the right bets, bet big on the right hands, but be assured that you may not win every time. That's pretty much it from my side, Abhishek. Happy to take on any more.
You made very, very interesting 2 points. And one is you can start at any age. So typically, I think the gentry over here is slightly younger to that. So I'm presuming that we've got an audience between 25 to 40 years or 45 years over here. And as you rightly said, there's no age. Whenever you think it is right, you can start. Okay, that is one thing. The second very interesting point you made was, when will you make returns? So for a new person who's starting angel, okay, or want to be an angel or wants to add angel as a portfolio to his investment list, okay, what are some 3-4 things that you should tell him that this is what you should think before putting in money anywhere? Being the first time investor.
Okay. See, first of all, when you come to angel investing as an asset class, right? First of all, you have to be an accredited investor so as to not fall into this entire trap of regulatory hurdles and compliance, etc. SEBI gives these definitions. What I do is go via angel platforms which take care of this compliance, etc. easily, or go in as a first check in people I know or people like amazing people who come via the network. Those criteria themselves would give you an indication as to whether you can even be an accredited investor, whether you should also be thinking of this. Some of these criteria are like annual 50 lakh rupees annual income, or like a 2 crore rupees net worth, excluding your primary residence, right? So once you have that, you can be an accredited investor and can start making angel investments. As far as returns are concerned, that depends on the kind of plays that you are backing. There have been instances when I have exited a company 3 months after making an investment. There have been cases where I'm still invested even after sitting on an 80x return on that investment. So again, as I said, like I've been like a professional poker player. I look at it at a very different manner. If there's a right horse, you can keep backing it and backing it and backing it till the time the entrepreneur or the next round of VC says that, okay, you are too small a fish to be on this cap table. Please take an exit. Please let us run this in. So the exit horizon can be anywhere between 3 months to 5 years, but typically take at least 3 to 4 years for an angel investment into a particular startup company, because you will come in at an early stage, which is typically a pre-seed or a seed stage. After that, at a series A, let's say 12 months down the line, and then a series B, 12 more months down the line, is when you can think of making a sizable 7 to 10x return on that particular investment if everything goes well.
Great, Dhruv. I think that's a great point. The horizon needs to be decided. You need to choose your people correctly, and then you back it up with the help of a solid accredited investor. So, Pankaj, recently there has been a few funds that have been launched and which are kind of aggregating the smaller ticket sizes. Okay, these kind of present a very opportune investment opportunity or chance to people. So what are your views and what people should kind of look at when they're trying to go through one of these routes?
Right. So it's a very interesting scenario that we are in currently. There are a lot of these aggregators, also called the syndicates, that have come to the market, and they've been doing a valuable job in terms of giving access to the individual investors participate in angel investments as an investment opportunity. Some of the famous names, if I could use here, are AngelList, Let's Venture, R Ventures, and many more. They usually start from say about 1 lakh rupees to 5-10 lakh rupees, depending upon which platform are we looking at or which company are we looking at. There are a couple of things that one needs to keep in mind before deciding which syndicate to go ahead with. The first and the foremost is who is going to be your lead investor. The person who is bringing the deal to you, is that the person you would want to invest with? Does he have the best deal? What kind of credibility does he have? Has he been able to generate returns in the market in the previous years? So you would need to assess the lead angels, the lead investors' overall background and his performance. The second is the quality of the deal flow that comes into these platforms. Now, it's very easy to start a platform, an aggregated platform or a syndicate, but it's very tough to give quality deals over these platforms. You would know there are hundreds of companies in the market right now looking for funds. Most of them are not able to raise funds. When they're not able to raise funds, some of them may be able to go to these lead investors on a smaller platform, may not be as popular, may not be as important. And you will find the deal flow of such companies. Now, these are the companies that probably everybody else has rejected, and you wouldn't want to participate in that deal. So you need to assess the quality of the deal that is coming to these syndicates. Is this the deal that's coming to you first in the market, or is this the deal that's coming to you last in the market? If it's the last, then that's not the platform you want to work with, right? So you need to see the quality of companies being listed there. So I think there are these two very important non-negotiable checks that you need to have before deciding which syndicate to work with. It's not the ticket size that is relevant, So one company could say that you can start investing with me with as low as 10,000 rupees. Now, that's not what you want to start with. What you want to start with is you want access to the best company which is raising funds right now in the market. You would want to invest in a company like Flipkart, or you want to invest in a company like Paytm, or the best of the lot, BharatPe, Rupify, great companies in the market. So the most important value is, for a syndicate, the quality of the deal and obviously the background of the investor that is there.
Thanks, Pankaj. Dhruv, One interesting question, like most of the investors who are trying to start out as an angel investor or prospective angel investors, do they really need to come from the startup background? Do they really need to understand startup as a industry, so to say, or a way of growing big? Is it important, or there are other thoughts that you have which you would like to share?
Right. No, you don't need to understand how the startup works. Like, for example, I have absolutely no idea about how NPCI works, but I invested in Bharati because that's how you learn. I have absolutely no idea how rocket ships work, but I will invest in a space tech company. So no, you do not even need to know anything about that industry or startup world. What would help you though is that if you are a part of the ecosystem, you will get good deals. So you may not know about that industry or how startups work, but being part of that ecosystem brings to you a good deal flow. And in the end, investment is all about deal flow. You get the right deals, you invest in them. Simple, short answer. No.
So what I hear you saying is that not only that you should look at the quality of the team that you're working with, but also in look at the type of deal inflow or the quality of the investments that are being made into those particular investment sub investments. So that brings us to a very good point where I would like both of you to kind of share some anecdotes. So Pankaj, to start with you, you've invested in more than 100 companies so far, and you also come from a family which has been long into the startup game and investing across the industries. So why don't you share some anecdotes of some of the deals, how you thought it would go in the beginning when you put money into it, how it actually happened, and what were the factors that were influencing the growth of those deal investments?
So I've been working in the internet space for the last 21 years now. Our family venture, IndiaMart, I was involved with them for a long time. And being inside the industry, having worked with a lot of startups earlier, somewhere in 2014-15, we realized that, for example, Android was going to be a major factor, and it will lead to a lot of great startups eventually being built in the market. So we invested in a company called Little Eye Labs at that time. What they were doing was enabling a lot of apps to optimize, to build better apps on the Android network. What we thought interesting was that Android had a large market share, and it would continue to be so in the Indian market, and therefore a lot of companies will need help on app optimization. So we invested in them, hoping that they will be able to service a lot of companies. Eventually, the company got acquired by Facebook. I think Facebook's only investment in India as a acquisition. There was another company. They were doing children game box subscription service, which was very radical and very interesting at that time. It was called Flinto Box. Now, all of us, when we try and give access to toys, the games to our children, most of the children will play for a couple of times and then leave it away. They would want to continue playing the same game. They will get bored. So when they came to us saying that, hey, there is a subscription here, every month the child will get a different set of toys to play with, and it will keep the interest level of the child always active. He will be really engaged. I thought, this was something very interesting. So we invested in them, and they've done wonderfully well. I think they've been able to raise a couple of rounds post our investment. So that was that. Recently, we've invested in a space tech company. It's a space technology enablement company, which is kind of providing access to information to all companies that would eventually work with space technology through APIs. And I think it's going to be a very interesting space because space tech, in itself is a very large piece, and somebody who's enabling that ecosystem, a company like that should be able to reap large benefits. So in a nutshell, if you look at all these three decisions, what you would find is that all of these companies had a tailwind when we invested. So as an investor, I always look at, is the industry a tailwind sector or is the industry a headwind industry? If it's going to be a tailwind industry, then it's going to be relatively easier for that company to scale up because everybody's pushing it forward. The chances of success usually then depends on the execution. So that's the first parameter we look at, which is, of course, the tailwind industry. The second we look at is the quality of the founding team. How driven are these founders? How passionate are these founders? Have they had success in the past, or are they first-time founders? What is their pedigree? What is their comfort level with each other? I think that's one of the another important thing that we look at is how well the founders gel among themselves. So a couple of these factors is what we look at, and we've made a lot of investments in the startup space. Some of them have been able to make an exit, like Little Eye Labs. Most of them are still in phases of raising subsequent funds. A lot of them have closed, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't share a lot of details on the platform, but these three are the ones that I could.
So no, that's really, really good. Thank you for that. I understand there are confidentiality factors around this. So I'm also trying to pick up some queries which are coming up in the chat window, and these were also lining to some questions that we had planned to ask on this chat. So Dhruv, what is your view on some of the valuation techniques that go around in your mind, the valuation techniques that go around your mind when you're looking at a fresh investment? How do you actually kind of create a value map or valuation of that business, that this business is worth so many crores and you're going to invest X crores in them for a Y percentage of equity? Your audio is not there.
Sorry. I was on mute. Typical joke of the day, right? You're on mute ever since lockdown. Anyhow, red flag number one, I'm a very small fish. All of us here, maybe not Pankaj, are very small fish. If we have to determine valuation of any particular angel investment that we are considering, then please do not make that angel investment. Rely on some other lead investor who has already done that and created that valuation, right? You are not a VC unless and until this is your full-time gig wherein you have a team of analysts who are doing due diligence, unless you have access to proprietary information all over the world where the industry is heading, how next round VCs are looking at this particular industry or this particular team or this particular sector. It's early stage, valuation comes out of thin air. The right teams can command any valuation. If you're looking at valuation on day one, do not be an angel investor. 100% of zero is zero. 1% of $1 billion is $10 million. Always think in terms of absolute returns that you can make, not in terms of percentages or valuations. That is what I think. That is what I have seen as an entrepreneur, as an investor, as an operator. This is not public market wherein there is a DCF model which is applied to come to a price earning multiple. There is absolutely no way to justify any valuation, and there is absolutely every way to justify every valuation. So valuation is the biggest ephemeral, chimera in this industry. Do not go after valuations.
Good. So Pankaj, what's your view on this?
So I would call it looking for a spouse for marriage. Right? There are no hard and fast rules. It's how you go looking for a spouse. What do you look for? You look for that comfort. You look for that that bond, that vibe that comes out when you meet somebody. Right? A pre-seed, seed, or a very early stage startup. That's what you're looking for. It's not really the valuation. It could be 5 crores, it could be 10 crores. In any case, a company on paper, what is it worth? Technically, it's zero. But what you're investing is not the company at that stage. What you're investing is basically on the founders and that idea, right? So when you're looking at such an early stage of investment, all you're looking at is whether, okay, let's look at it this way. Whether you would be comfortable working for that startup without any salary, only on equity. If the answer to that is yes, you would want to invest in that company as an angel investor. If the answer to that is no, that no, I can't commit to that kind of company without salary, then probably you have your answer. Valuation comes at a very later stage. In the early stages, there are no set definitions.
I see two very great thoughts coming out of it. One from Pankaj, your side, that if you're really committed and you would want to work for that particular startup, then it's the right place. But if you wouldn't want to work without salary, then probably you must think more. And the second, what Dhruv brought out, that if you are a relatively inexperienced angel investor, then please rely on more experienced people in that group and align your thoughts to them and select those partners very carefully. So these are two very great advices for the people who are trying to start out as first-time investors. Okay. Now, this question has been answered before, but has come up in the chat window. What is a successful time horizon? So, while I also have a view on this, but happy to see your view on this, Dhruv. What would you typically say is a successful time horizon for somebody to exit, given a chance that the exit option exists?
Yeah, so you answered that question there itself. An exit in any time horizon is good enough. Okay. Simple. As an angel investor, we should just ensure that someone brainwashes that into our head. If you are even getting your capital back, then you are way ahead of the curve. You will make a lot of money on some of the very good bets, which will cover up everything. But first thing that you want to go after is an exit. But typically, as I said earlier, also a 3-year horizon on an average for an angel investor to exit from betting on any play in the very first round is a reasonable time horizon.
Okay. So from now, I'm going to delve a little bit more into your personal knowledge of this industry. Say, for example, any one of us, I'm a first-time investor. I've got, say, 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, which I would like to invest as an angel investor, trying to build that class. Okay. Can you share some options by naming them, the typical funds that you might have come across, even without naming them, the kind of funds they should look for? And given the current scenario where we are, operating in a post-COVID world, what are some industries they should go after, which you're likely to see as emerging industries in the post-COVID environment? And open to you, both of you, anybody can start once you are ready.
Pankaj, you want to take this or should I go ahead?
You can start too.
Okay, fantastic. So let's say you have 10 lakh rupees. Okay, interesting. If I had 10 lakh rupees, I would not make that. I would either make just one investment or at max 2. But let that number not be the limiting factor. What you need to understand is, okay, is it 10 lakh rupees in 1 year or is it 10 lakh rupees every subsequent years to be able to create a portfolio? After that, just focus very well on sourcing good deal flow. Right now, from personal experience, as far as angel investment deal flow is coming, I have typically seen it with a couple of very good early stage syndicates on angel list, or typically via friends and family. Fortunately, most of them are investors in mine also. But shameless plug, if anyone wants to invest, I have a very small allocation for IIM Indore folks in my upcoming round, which is already backed by multiple VCs. If you want to invest, I'm open to listening in. Okay. Yeah. So on angel list, a few folks, whether it is Utsav, who is the Indian partner, or Better Capital, or Shweta Rao, Amrish Rao, or Archana Priyadarshini, or the angel list team, and a few more. So like Nikhil Sharma, all of these folks run good syndicates who have bagged some of the best upcoming startups over the last 2-3 years. At the same time, if you can get into a deal wherein a marquee unicorn founder or a marquee, startup founder is putting in pre-seed or seed, then that leads to better chances of a marquee VC coming in later. I have personally not invested using other platforms like Let's Venture or Indian Angel Network. As far as tier one angel platforms are concerned, in India, at least they are AngelList, Indian Angel Network, Let's Venture, and Venture Catalysts. Beyond that, there are lots of platforms. Typically, they go into tier two, tier three. No offense to anyone if I've missed out some of them, that happens. Yes. Abhishek, what was the second part of your question? Industries in the post-COVID world.
Correct.
वैसे तो it's not advisable to be looking at a very short-term, spike or phenomena, but of course that plays into tailwinds maybe in the long term also. So tailwinds are essentially wherein macro factors are helping an industry grow, and headwinds are essentially macro factors which are making sure that an industry will face a lot of resistance. So for example, today or maybe 3 years earlier, the entire mobile economy would have been a tailwind, right? Today, things around virtual access to services, gaming, education, health, nutrition, all of these are industries which have a lot of tailwind because of how consumer behavior has changed because of Corona. So those are some of the industries. Yeah, but Corona will not last. Eventually, science will find a way. So you still have to think first principles, which is the team super solid? Is there large market potential, and are they doing something good? Pankaj, over to you.
Thanks, Dhruv. Very well said. To the first question, if you have 5-10 lakh rupees to invest as a starting point, like in the first question where we differed, I'm a little more conservative investor from that perspective. If you want to start off with 5-10 lakh, that's fine, but you should be able to see a total investment of about 20 companies eventually happening over the next 4-5 years. So the first question for me will be, will I be able to generate enough investable corpus to make an investment into the angel investment over the next 5 years so that I'm able to make a total investment of about 20 companies? If the answer to that is no, then making 1 or 2 investments with 5-10 lakh rupees may not be such a good idea. But assuming that you would be able to do that, it's great to start with a syndicate. Dhruv has mentioned a lot of very, very popular syndicates. I also recommend AngelList and Better Capital. Venture Catalyst is another very good syndicate that you can work with. For more names, you can contact me with, after this session maybe, I can share some of the names that I've worked with in the past. So when you start, there are a lot of technicalities involved in angel investment. So it's always advisable to go with the lead investor and not do the deal yourself, because there's going to be a lot of due diligence that you will need to do, a lot of paperwork that you need to do. So I think from a learning perspective, syndicates are a very good starting point. You could look at Dhruv's fund, which is recently launched, the IIM Indore Alumni Angel Fund. I think it's a very good initiative taken by Dhruv, and it gives you a great access to good companies. So to that question. To the second question about industries, like I said, tailwind is the most important factor. And how do you decide whether industry is in a tailwind or a headwind? So first and the foremost is, are you bugged by the services that are being given for a certain industry or a certain sector or a certain kind of companies? Let's say insurance. It's one of the more primitive ways of getting insurance right now. So I think insurance is going to be a very nice tailwind sector over the next few years, where not only from tier 1, but tier 2 to tier 5 city people, because they don't have access to insurance, there are a lot of paperwork that are needed for insurance, and there are a lot of complications if you need to really take up an insurance. I think those problems will get solved over the next 2-3 years. So that's one area that I'm personally looking at. Some of the high risk sectors like space tech, I'm very excited about space tech. Made a couple of investments in that industry. Education, of course, is everybody's favorite all the time, because education has always been the basic pillar of any country. The more it is strengthened, the better the country is. And I would always support an edtech company that has the capability and the vision to change the way people are educated in the country. So I think edtech will remain an all-time favorite in terms of a tailwind sector. But like I said earlier, along with tailwind, the other factor is how strong that team is, how driven that team is the problem that they're solving large enough? So there could be multiple problems that people are solving, but the problem has to be large enough for you as an angel investor who's interested in, for example, financial returns, to make 10x or 50x or 100x on your returns, on your investment. Yeah. So look at if the market size is large enough from where you're investing to where it can eventually lead to.
Great. So guys, that brings me to two interesting thoughts that have come up. One has come up in the chat window, and one I had been trying to ask is, so let me put out both the questions, and you guys can choose how to respond to that. Okay. Now, if we flip the coin around, and there are some young ventures which are trying to raise funds, okay, what is your advice for them? What path they should look for? Because both of you have been investors and you've sought investments as well, okay. And the second thing is, how do you look at investments, or what method or precautions you should take when you're essentially seeking out from friends and families?
So maybe I can start with this.
Yeah.
So if you're starting out and you're looking for your first round of funding, of course, the first round is your pocket. You should be able to take out from your pocket whatever investment is required, and hopefully you will not need to go to the family and friends as your next step to raising funds. But let's say the capital required is large enough and you're not able to commit that kind of capital, and therefore you need to go to your friends and family. In that case, the only factor that is relevant is trust. Your friends and family will give you money, whatever you need, basis trust. They would only see, okay, Pankaj has come to me for investment, I trust him, and therefore I give my money to him. If you're taking money from them, remember, only take it if you are 100% committed. If you think the company that you have started will eventually go on and become the best of the lot in that sector, and become a unicorn or decacorn or all kinds of cons. But your commitment should be 100% non-negotiable, and I mean, don't even think of breaking that trust factor, because ultimately that's the only thing that you build over the years. When you come to an angel or an institutional or any other external fund, so let's say you come to a regular angel investor who you probably have not known in the past. What we look at is, at a pre-seed or an idea stage, is the quality of the idea, which is essentially, again, two things. Is the market size large enough? Is the sector that you're going to operate is going to be growing in the future? And it's not something that everybody's pushing it down. And second is the founding team, the quality of that team. So as an angel investor, I invest in people who I think are 100% passionate, driven. They would come with that idea. They would know what they're talking about. They know what the problems that they're going to solve, and they are willing to give time, effort, space, money, everything to that company to build it. I think that's what primarily we look at when we invest in a pre-seed or a seed kind of stage.
Dhruv, what's your view?
Yeah. So I've always been someone who would want to keep business and personal very separate, because if things don't go well, you do not want to mess up personal at all. So while friends might be and family might be your first port of call, be rest assured that in 2020, on October 18 in India, for good people, good ideas, good market, good teams, there is unlimited money available in the market. You do not need to rely on friends and family at all. What you need to demonstrate is unparalleled conviction and passion into what you're doing. How that gets demonstrated is, okay, have you done something? That trust that Pankaj mentioned gets built with people who you do not know of already, or who they don't know you, by showing to them what you've done in your past, by having a very clear vision and story of what you want to be doing. And in case you've already demonstrated by, like, maybe building a small prototype, maybe getting some early traction. Today, let's say you're doing a tech business, right? Even if you are not a coder, like I'm not an engineer, I've always been a problem solver since childhood. So today you can code out any single thing that you want, at least a basic MVP, in 30 days. That does not take money. At least a base prototype you can do on your own. You do not need capital to do that. Most of the people on this video call would typically be IIM Indore alumni. I am assuming that you already have extensive networks of people with whom you can do early traction, early proof of concept. You do not need that much money. Once you have that early proof of concept, angels would be very happy listening to you. That's what they're looking for, right? Even now you have micro VC funds. These funds write 25, 30, 50 lakh rupee check just on the basis of an idea, not even an MVP needed. So I would stay away from friends and family, because that relationship unnecessarily gets up complicated as soon as money gets involved. And then you have to do all sorts of paperwork and this and that and determine valuation, which is the biggest hassle in this industry. So go to reputed investors. You have people on this call who know almost everyone in the industry. If any one of you are starting up, please reach out to us. Happy to make the relevant introductions. Happy to mentor you into making sure that you do not make mistakes, etc. Yeah.
Great. So guys, thank you very much. And now I have allowed a mute option for all the participants. So if there are any direct questions you would like to table, we'll be happy to, kind of provide views on that. If not, then what I'll do is try and recap a quick 2 minutes of what we have discussed, and then we'll close the discussion. So what are you participants? Any questions? You can unmute yourself and ask directly. Hello.
Abhishek, Mukesh this side. If one has done an angel investment in a venture, whether be it a friend or any other one, and as Dhruv mentioned, may not know enough about that area, industry domain, how much should you interfere, or how much of a reporting governance you should expect from the promoter to keep you at least at peace of mind that your investment is still, if it's not become whatever X, it's not become minus X.
Okay, let me take this. Whether it's a friend or family or any unknown, any good founder would send you regular updates as to what is happening in the business. Now, there are some folks who want to be very active, hands-on angel investors. I am not one of them. You are betting on a team because you trust in them that they will be able to do what they are trying to do. So I would want to help them when they ask for help, not actively interfere, not especially on strategy, because these are the guys who are building the business. They are on the ground. So when they ask for your help, be open to helping as much as possible. but do not like go and sit as if you are the entrepreneur. You need to do this. You should do this instead. Do this instead. If they are asking for help and support, do support. But if the founder is not sending you regular updates, then there is something wrong. They need to be doing that.
Yeah, and especially in the case when you're betting on the jockey than the horse, all you can rely on is the updates. Not to, I mean, obviously you can't interfere much because you're not very clear what the idea is, or even if you're clear, you're not from that field to help them out much.
Yeah.
Thanks for the answer.
Great. Thanks, Mukesh.
So one question this side, basis the MVP and some basic numbers, how do we actually go on determining the valuation and hence the percentages that we should be shredding out?
Okay, I can take that. So like we earlier said, there is no perfect methodology to get to a particular valuation. It all depends on the kind of company that you're working with and the eventual exponentiality of the growth of that company. So if it's let's say a product distribution company, then the eventual multiples are going to be slightly lower than for a robotics company. But to give you a very standard benchmark, some of the syndicates or these platforms work at a fixed pattern where they take, say, 1 crore, they invest 1 crore of investment at a valuation of 10 crores, eventually taking about 10% of the company. But it usually ranges between 5 crores to 10 crores to begin with if it's a pre-seed idea-based company. But for certain platforms. But let's say you're building a company that needs very large amount of capital, say a space tech or say a robotics company or a very high capital intensive company, then you could go up to maybe 15-20 crores. But at a pre-seed stage, if you're looking at 50 crores, 100 crores kind of valuation, as an angel investor, I would stay away. And I think it's $1 million to $3-4 million. I think that's the comfortable range, depending upon which sector, which company, what's the eventual growth potential, and you can place somewhere in between.
Dhruv, what's your view?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to that. If you look at Y Combinator offers you 7%, $150,000. So if you just or something like that, so essentially 15 crore rupees valuation. If it's a good entrepreneur, good deal, good play, today they will not look at any valuation less than that. Right. So typically, early stage pre-seed valuation, the kind of numbers that we have been seeing in good deals are somewhere around the 15 to 20 crore mark for a 10% dilution for a 2 to 3 crore rupees round. Beyond that, so for example, for Habit, I raised my pre-seed at 5 million post, but because there was a lot of money required because we are doing something disruptive. So again, let's break it into pre-seed, wherein the entrepreneur would dilute anywhere around 8 to 10%. In a seed round, the entrepreneur would dilute anywhere between 15 to 20%. Or if it's a large round, then typical dilution is around 20 to 25%. So depending on how much amount, what the round size is, then you can work backward based on dilution into the valuation of the company. Because there is absolutely no way you can justify a valuation. It's just out of thin air.
Just to add to that, there's an entrepreneur named Kunal Shah. He's a prolific founder, having sold FreeCharge. He launched Cred. I'm sure most of you know about Cred. His seed round was, I don't remember exactly, but I think he raised 100 crores in his seed round at some 400-500 crore valuation. So obviously it changes depending upon the founder profile. If you've got that kind of pedigree, you would command a very high valuation. But if you're a first-time founder, pre-seed idea, you would look at 5-10 CR and go upwards, like Dhruv mentioned.
Great, great.
Got it. Thanks.
So guys, I think we are just about to reach the top of the hour. So if there are more questions, happy to take them quickly and then we'll summarize and close the discussion.
Good afternoon, Devi Singh Silotia. I had a query. Like these days, you know, some good terms are going around, like Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Vocal for Local. So is Government of India having some very specific initiatives in terms of maybe incubators for VCs or for some kind of startups? Because, you know, a very large number of people in India with the good qualifications like BTech or MBA from fairly good institutions are without job today. So are there any specific initiatives by Government of India?
So Devi Singh ji, thanks for asking that question. While there would be more enough information around this thing, but I'm not too sure that our panelists here specifically track that market. But happy to kind of get a response from Pankaj and if they are aware of this.
Okay, so I can take that topic. See, the Government of India has been doing a lot of activities for the startups. They've taken a lot of initiatives. There are a lot of state governments that have taken initiatives. So you will need to check with respective state government wherever you're looking at. Some of the active states have been Andhra Pradesh, who've always been up on the radar. You will find a lot of research reports and data available on the specific startups and incubators and all kinds of financial support that they've been offering. But in general, if you look at how does a country grow eventually? You know, the PM has said that we want to become a 5 trillion economy by year so and so. Now that's a vision that somebody set. And if you look at country as a company, you know, 5 trillion, let's say, is the revenue that you want to achieve. Who is going to achieve those revenues? It's people like us. It's people like you and me who will start companies, who will generate jobs, who will generate revenues, who will generate the whole cycle of consumption and revenue and the banking, the loans, all those kind of cycles. So if you're serious about starting a company, you should obviously check out what are the support systems that are available with the government, whether it's the central government or the state government, but also look at how you can contribute. How do you set up a company? Which areas that you can work with? If you think jobs is some big piece that you want to work on, then just go ahead and take that plunge. Right? The support system that's available to you, it's just a value add that you can utilize. I think the more important question is, what do you bring to the table as a citizen, as an entrepreneur to the country? Like a popular saying, ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. I've always believed in that.
Great. Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any views on this?
Yeah, so the private sector always drives all consumption and entrepreneurial on industry or even government growth for that matter. The PM himself said, become Atmanirbhar. So if you have any concerns, any help required, I'm sure we have enough networks to sort that out. Yes, the governments have a lot of initiatives. There's the Startup India movement that keeps on doing lots of talks, lots of events, lots of connects with entrepreneurs, industries, incubators. There are educational institutes who have these incubators. There are local government schemes, but they are not typically for the kind of startups that we are talking about here. They are for like MSMEs or SMEs who want more access to maybe working capital or maybe more capex heavy industries wherein you already should be running something. As far as jobs, etc., which also you had mentioned was concerned, then yes, there are active initiatives, not just by industry, but also by government. So it depends on what exactly you're looking for. But first port of call for better results should be private. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll try and quickly round this up. I'll just quickly try and go over some of the aspects of that. So we started with the whole concept of angel investing and how people should look at it, where we said that the chances of angel investing are substantially very low, and one needs to be serious about angel investing. You should not try one or two investments. Actually, the idea is to spread the investment over a reasonably large, so 10 to 20 investments, so that at least one of them returns. Okay. We also said that access to information and more in words of Gordon Gekko, information is money. So, and that is very important to invest in a startup to know exactly what is the team, what they're going after. Okay. We also discussed people can look at small funds which have a good track record and are led by seasoned investors as lead investors. These people can take away your. Okay, sorry. I think my voice is not very audible. So the small funds can take away the risk of investing from the first-time investors, as they are seasoned about all the nuances, the paperwork, technicalities, and the legalities. Okay. We also looked at what is the horizon of investing, when you should actually look at exiting, and of course the answer was 3 to 5 years. However, should that opportunity come? Okay, that is another aspect of it in the angel investing. Typically, we looked at this is something like early investments. Bigger investments are for more seasoned people, and people who are starting out new should not try and go after large investments in the beginning. Once they have seen the market, they've been there, then of course it's their choice. Another important factor which came up while this discussion was going on was it's very important to look at what is the industry in which you are investing into. Is it a right industry? It is a high growth industry. Does that exponential growth chances or not? Or it is something which has got stable marginal growth or declining industry, so you might not want to invest over there. Another thing which came up in discussion was also look for tailwinds and headwinds in the industry that you're investing into. If you're investing into industry which is niche, can expect exponential growth, and there's some support like even Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that, then these are good things to be there. So what is happening with the digital communications, with the education here in current days after post-COVID, these are some good tailwinds for these industries. Okay. When we came to the valuations list, we said that while there are tons and tons of things that are written in the paper, but valuation is one part is the correct type of valuation following the DCF and the projections and everything. But the other thing would be the your sheer gut. And Pankaj did say that if you're ready to kind of work for that company without a paycheck, that should be your biggest answer about the valuation of that company. Viability came up as a very important factor, which Dhruv brought out, that you have to invest into viable options. There's no reason you should look at unviable things. Okay. One more thing which came up was that you should be looking at, and I thought that this thought will come up, but I'll bring it now. It should be large enough problem to be addressed. There's no point investing your money into a place where the problem is not big. And I would like to bring in some elements of Steve Jobs. What he said is, you should invest somewhere where it becomes limitless. So the reach and the depth of your investment or technology that you're working in should become limitless. That is when it has a chance of really exploding into an exponential growth. Okay. So long as the question of investing with friends and families was concerned, both of the panelists did say that you should look at it probably as a last resort. And if you're really sure of your idea, then there is enough and more money available on the table and that should not be a reason for you to become to go to a friend and family for funds. Okay, passion is something which will drive it, and if you're looking to reverse generate money, then your 100% commitment and passion will be the main thing. Okay, we did also discuss about several small investment aggregators and syndicates like Utsav and all these. Those names will be available in the YouTube broadcast. Okay, these are the people whom you can approach should you want to invest with a small ticket size item and start your journey as an angel investor. We also looked at what are some typical sizes of deals. So we did say that today the investments are happening more in pre-seed with 8 to 10% valuation on a 15 crore to 20 crore valuation, and the seed rounds are happening between 15 to 20%, and large rounds are happening between 20 to 25%. So I think these are some things which I noted in my notes, and I would offer the platform back to Pankaj and Dhruv to sign off with their final comments.
Thanks, Prakash. I'll give you 3-4 points to kind of wrap it up. First, you should bet in companies where, like I said earlier, you're willing to work without a salary, willing to work only on equity, willing to bet your time. Second, if you're angel investing, never decide basis your first impression. Always go back, think about the idea again, see, do your research, and then commit to an answer. But always tell the founder about your answer, because for him, it's the only company that he's raising funds for, and therefore he expects that kind of honesty and transparency. So if you are an investor who shares, whether it's a yes or a no, if you tell the founder, he would appreciate it, and eventually you will build credibility in the market as a fair and transparent investor. And if you find a winner in your portfolio, double down in the subsequent rounds of funding. Make higher returns when it's available. That's from me. Dhruv, if you'd like to add.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Pankaj. Very, very nice points. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us on a Sunday afternoon. Angel investing is high reward and high risk, but exponentially high reward if you do it right. For me, doing it right is backing the right teams. I am overweight on teams. In the end, you are betting on the team. It has to be an exceptional team who's very passionate and driven about what they're doing, because eventually they'll find a way. Even if they are not doing something right now, with the right support, with the right capital, they'll find a way. You will make your money when someone else buys your stake. That will happen when the company grows big and fast. That will only happen if it is operating in a large market or on a large problem where there are tailwinds or IP or disruption. So team, market, and then something unique that they are doing. Take care of these three, build a good deal flow, speak to people in the industry, back the syndicates of the right lead investors, and you should be able to start off on your journey well. And as you do this, as you build a portfolio, you'll build a name so that deals directly start coming to you, so that you can eventually be a syndicate lead in the future. So that is what angel investing is all about. Yeah.
Absolutely great. That's Dhruv and Pankaj. And
Mr. Abhishek, can you share proceedings of this webinar through email to all the participants? Will be great if we could be benefited.
This will be available as a YouTube recording, and
That's right.
That will be available.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for everybody joining in, and absolutely great session with Dhruv and Pankaj, and thank you very much for having taken time out. And the participants who made this session. I would also like to extend my final vote of thanks to the IMEMBER and the specific New Delhi chapter and the coordinating team for the event who made this event possible and successful. And happy investing to all of you, and happy Navaratris and Shubh Continue to all of us here from the IMEMBER team. Thank you very much for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Jai Hind.
Thank you.